So currently, if there's a truancy problem, unless you have a municipal ordinance, you have no enforceable rights. So what the state has done is given you some minimum requirements to put in here. And these are exactly where they've been.
These are the minimum. You can't exceed.
Right, but I mean, as far as what you use for definitions and the
most of that came from county ordinance. Not definitions and all that is not in the state statute. But the penalty provision is like cannot exceed the state statute limitations. So that's where that came from. What Alderman Rowell was asking.
So by meeting and clarifying this more, or asking for some clarification on this, is it the concerns of the others that they may not want to have as much in penalties as would be in here? I mean, right now there's no penalties. If you don't pass anything, nobody can do anything. If you go ahead and pass this as is, or I was just curious about what you hope to learn by that, because it seems to me if he wrote it up at the minimum and following the other local truancy thing by the county and that it doesn't seem like it was penalizing to anybody and it's meeting the minimum requirements for the state. I was just curious as to what, other than watering down the potential limits, and you can only do that to a certain extent because the state set the minimum, what you're talking about. So either you don't want to do anything to the parents or to the truancy kid, or else you pass this. I mean, that's kind of the way I was reading it. I didn't know what we were going to gain by that.
Okay, and I think that's another reason it probably should go to committee. We can sit here and just decide all night. I mean, I've already learned a little bit more about this than I knew. So I'd like to compare it to what the county has done, see if there is a difference, and have a little time to look at it. I would be up like so I'm going to start for a while.
Well, I just want to clarify the rest of it. These are maximums. These are maximums of $75. So it says here a maximum
On the first offense. Second one must be in excess of 75, but not less than 100. You can change it if you want to not more than, not in excess of 100. But at least this doesn't mean they have to be fined that much. It won't exceed.
There better be some good public announcements on this, because some parent who doesn't know about this is going to be an awful surprise. Especially if the kid maybe trying to get even when he takes off from school. The parents are going to have one shot. So maybe the kids need to get a copy of this to make them aware that they better not skip school.
Would this actually, as far as enforcement goes, we had talked about this, and I wasn't aware of the cost involved for legal. That when Tom explained in a previous meeting, and he said about what the costs were to go ahead and enforce things like parking on the grass tickets, things like that, that when you were talking about a $75 fine, that he said, well, it might cost you $100 for him to go ahead and actually take the complaint, write it up, and then so you lose money on everything. In actuality, as you guys would become truant officers, and that the actual enforcement and the penalties are probably going to be somewhat discretionary, I would imagine, like you do with some other things. You go there, you try to work it out with the lady with the barking dog and or the nuisance cat, and before you actually cite somebody. So there would probably be, as far as citations go, it isn't that you find a kid uptown, he's not with a parent, he's 14 years old, he's supposed to be in school, you catch him and you write him up. That literal enforcement, or would there probably be some discretion as how do they do that?
Discretion, common sense.
Yeah.
As I said before, I'd like to see us go ahead and pass this. We can have the meetings, we can adjust it, we can manipulate it, we can massage it, but school starts in less than a month. And it would be nice to have this on the books to give them some tools to move forward.
Well, once again, I don't think that we're saying that we don't want to pass a truancy ordinance. I think it would behoove the council to learn as much about this ordinance, which is a major policy decision for our city. Take the time to go over it more than just a couple nights on a weekend when you haven't really had time to talk to any of your constituents or the taxpayers of the city who ultimately that we report to. So I would encourage the council to please send this to Education Committee. There's still time before school starts. And after this has gone over thoroughly and we have all our legal questions answered and all of the definitions and all these things gone over, then certainly we can go ahead and recommend to the council to pass it, and it'll still be in time for school, so.
Yeah, I never said or did I imply that I was against this ordinance. All I was stating was a simple request to have an education committee so that more information can be understood, obtained, discussed. And that's all I was saying.
Well, truly, if you were concerned about committee, it's a new ordinance on truancy, so it should go to the ordinance committee. I mean, if we want to get into that, it is a new ordinance, so we would go to ordinance committee.
I would have a problem having a joint meeting, so we don't get into another half hour debate. We'll have a joint meeting.
Let's take this one.
Everybody wishes committee. And as I've said before, I don't know why we have a problem listening to the professionals to deal with this day in and day out. We always want to try to double test them. Is there entertain a motion or will this go to order? Motion by Alderman Eversole.
I'll second.
By Alderman Demus. Any further discussion? Keep in mind, we can still massage it, we can still change it. It gives them the teeth that they're looking for as the working professionals. Alderman Rao.
What's the motion?
To pass the ordinance. Yeah, it'd be 2732. 32 didn't pass the first time. 2732. We can still call a committee meeting and we can still bring everybody in and we can massage it at a later date, but at least this way, if we want to talk about it for the next couple of months, we have something on the books when school starts on the 19th of next month.
I don't know if it needs to be part of the motion to pass it. We'll just call for committee
Yes.
meetings. That'll be okay. We'll do it that way.
Alderman Hand.
Once again, I would rather see us work this out beforehand, passing it.
You said that.
Once we
3
pass,
times.
well, Mayor
Well, but
Hutchinson,
I'm not, you just keep repeating things over. Are you going to add anything new?
Mayor Hutchinson, if
Alderman.
you recognize me, so I would like to speak if you don't mind.
Please do.
Yes, it is unfortunate that I have to keep repeating myself, but I also believe that it's very important that before we pass ordinances, it is essential that we, as the policymakers of this board, understand exactly what it is that we are passing. There's language in this ordinance that I definitely think needs clarification by the professionals. I would like to hear them. I would like to glean that knowledge first before I vote on this ordinance.
Any other discussion? We,
Just that I'm satisfied as it is, and I think we can massage it in the meeting if we need to.
Any other questions, comments? We have a motion, second, roll call.
Eversole.
Yes.
Hagman.
Yes.
Demus.
Yes.
Rao.
No.
Hannah.
No.
Blumenfeld. West.
Yes.